we? Where are we? Okay. Sorry. Okay. There we go. We're gonna have some interviews with Geological Life. Oh wait.
The counterfactual interview where we engage with an individual or group of individual, trusting that the aggregate vibes of a billion people is enough variation to assume a field, wherein we can ask for the names of anyone existing and simulate them. The resulting simulation may not yield an exact biography, but will have enough of the core spiritus software to make the resulting conversation as accurate as anything else, including interviewing the people themselves. And if you are honest with yourself, you will recall the moments you answered a question only to have that small voice within you try to raise a counterpoint. Today's guest, the Feldspars, Feldspar/Feldspar, /Feldspar, sometimes spelled Feldspar, is a group of rock-forming aluminium tetrasilicate minerals, also containing other cations such as sodium, calcium, potassium, or barium. The most common members of the feldspar group are the plagioclase sodium calcium feldspars and the alkali potassium sodium feldspars. Feldspars make up about 60% of the Earth's crust and 41% of the Earth's continental crust by weight. Feldspars crystallize from magma as both intrusive and extrusive igneous rocks and are also present in many types of metamorphic rock. Rock formed almost entirely of calcic plagioclase feldspar is known as anorthosite. Feldspars are also found in many types of sedimentary rocks. Endorphin, thank you for coming on the show. The Feldspars. It's an honor. Endorphin. What is one fact that you may want to correct a public about who might have any misconceptions about you all? Do you mind if I just call you all? The Feldspars. I wouldn't have it any other way. And for the one fact, Endorphin, is it that your density doesn't always conform to what it should be? The Feldspars. It is a misconception that we have anything to do with moon rocks, not that this is a public perception. Endorphin. That's right. It's so wrong. It's kind of a fact to lie about it. In fact, it could be argued that most of what we experience here, on this continent of thoughts and feelings and sensory phenomenology, is just a configuration that includes more there than not here. So in that sense, your density or inhereness is zero, meaning what it's believed to be. It isn't what it isn't. That's just being super literate with us. In it, you're rare like in moon rocks and Mars rocks. It's that they're out there, while you're all in here. The Feldspars. I don't understand. What's the difference between there and here, and why would being rare have anything to do with being out there? Endorphin. Well, I can answer that, and it has everything to do with my actual credentials, because I have been accepted into schools of science and have qualified for and accepted the degree Master of Science. The Feldspars. What did you specialize in? Endorphin. Nothing. Science. At this point in time, I'll take this moment to establish an axiom. What is understood and agreed upon is far greater than what isn't understood or agreed upon. The Feldspars. What does this have to do with you?
That's not true.
Endorphin. Well, I just had this explanation, and a Master of Science degree fits in somewhere. It's going to be another week before I get to it, because I got no skills at all in the getting back to things department. I'm just sorry I didn't do my one, single dance that I needed to for the week, but I also have the skills to get to it. I'm just being mean to myself, making a huge show out of being negligent, because we always say that I can do it later, because in all likelihood everything will be exactly the same as it is now, except all you did was what you didn't have to do, like you wanted to. you'll know the mood I'm referring to. When you have to just get out of yourself and do the only thing you could have done and didn't for a significant amount of time relative to the time span you are focusing on. But that being said, this idea of what isn't there and what isn't there is actually a real phenomenon that's everywhere. It's in the books. There's a dictionary definition, but it's also everywhere, meaning the line between figurative and literal isn't in some dictionary where it spells it out that it is one or the other. Everything has equal but opposite counter arguments, and the fact that whatever you do know, you have to know that you didn't know it at one time, and so it's reasonable to say that you aren't the only person in the world who doesn't know it, which doesn't mean there isn't anything they can't know. It's like you're all of everything, and there is no less important and less significant category. The Feldspars. If you're all of everything, then why are you still talking about yourself? Endorphin. That's a great question. The answer is as simple as the 1 plus 2. You can only be any given number of any given thing, one given time. Given you can be a number of things, then there's only going to be one number that you can be in at any given time. So it just doesn't make sense to be anything that can be given when a given is anything. You have to decide on a whim, because you have the urge to act on the only urge you have to act on, which would be the definition of having an urge. You would go and do it if you had the urge. But sometimes, when the action required is not possible, your conscious mind is not evolved to deal with what you aren't able to physically do. It takes forever to bring about even the simplest things that can't be done in the material world. So, in essence, anything that can't be done in the material world can take forever. But you get it all at once. That's why life is such big events, like with jobs, when it's decided that you are qualified to do a job. It's not gradual or anything. You don't hear, well, you aren't qualified, but you did some things that make us think that you might one day be qualified, which is in fact what we all should be saying to each other. I feel like in order to be a part of anything, we all should feel an overwhelming tendency to all support one another with the most verbiage, just for the hell of it. And I'm not talking about when people aren't talking and you have the floor. No. I'm talking about taking the floor to yourself when people are talking, which would in fact stop a lot of evil from happening. If we just talked a lot and fast and loudly enough, and enough people chimed in with the opinions on the other's opinions, all the lies and deceit in the whole world will get blocked. You'd be surprised how good intention works better than given opinions, because a disagreement is disagreement. There are no qualifications for being right, just right. The Feldspars. So if you are right, you can do anything? Endorphin. Actually, I was just lying. There's one wrong. The mistake of equating something that is deified, and all ways of doing that leads to this whole band of having to limit you for limiting other people's limitations. Because the actual truth, where there is nothing that defines any truths, there are so many people that need a philosophy, just because it's a given that there's people that want their givenness to remain as still and noble no matter what. The trouble with that is where everything actually happens in the back world, where what gets deified cannot equal anything else. It has nothing to do with anything if what's behind the back needs to define the backness. There is going to be this infinite burden of sustaining everything forever with nothing but what is behind the back. If everything on front has nothing in the back to back it up, then there would be a space in the back where anything happens. Only this anything happens by virtue of having not anything already in the front. Just meaning that I personally decided I know more about anything if I do not use words to define it. If you're completely speechless, meaning that there is nothing you could possibly know about it or anyone else, the back and the front create this asymmetry, and with nothing on one side of the equation creates this what is problem, in there being anything there and it being defined as such. There has to be somewhere wherein what is there can possibly conform to the definition. In other words, definitions are everywhere in the background, meaning that there would be this depth of strata where anything at all can be brought up. When anything can be brought up, and there are infinite distinct features in the features itself, there is infinite possibility that they all conform to one thing, and that's what made them into the thing. Not to take this line of logic too far, but where there are whole strata or ecosystems that are embedded within small inconspicuous substances and components of substances that can actually validate each definition of all those substances at any time. Like a fractal mind which knows everything about it and how to be a component of the whole. There is everything when you look at it. Everywhere it looks the same, with differences where everything conforms to be the same. That's where if you know any fractals that aren't more complex than you are, you can believe it, because you only know so much. To know more is either impossible, because to allow for more to be out there, when you have knowledge which includes both outside you and inside, it would have to remain at one at a time. You just can't look for an object for itself, only its appearance and any previous appearances become internal, in it being the most immediate sensory expression of what happened previously, given by the configuration of space, where what that space corresponds to is obviously unclear, because not knowing that is the same as anything could be behind a spot of light or dark, in a wall or on the earth, where everything is flat earth included. The flat earth. You'll never catch up to me, jackass. Endorphin. That's where you're wrong. You exotechnological crud over solids, so soil feels good backworld not. The crust without crustaceans. You'll never get anywhere, making jokes no one gets. P. From my world-infected body. Endorphin, after prying with scrunches, a word with sympathy. This is for you, given that this story can just go off on tangents. Mein Ketamate Elkazuksai, Indy 34, 5 KB. To Pristine's without its backwards word Wognodi Accessnare, that just meant being good back at getting old. Endorphin caption time. If you're angry about the bird pun caption getting disqualified.
Alright, gonna make another attempt, but this time it'll be purely this model. Oh wait. Okay. Got it. That's fine. So we'll get
Today's guest, the Feldspars slash Feldspar, slash Feldspar, sometimes spelled Feldspar, is a group of rock forming aluminium tectosilicate minerals, also containing other cations such as sodium, calcium, potassium, or barium. The most common members of the feldspar group are the plagioclase sodium calcium feldspars and the alkali potassium sodium feldspars. Feldspars make up about 60% of the Earth's crust and 41% of the Earth's continental crust by weight. Feldspars crystallize from magma as both intrusive and extrusive igneous rocks and are also present in many types of metamorphic rock. Rock formed almost entirely of calcic plagioclase feldspar is known as anorthosate. Feldspars are also found in many types of sedimentary rocks. Endorphin, thank you for coming on the show. The Feldspars, it's an honor. Endorphin, what is one fact that you may want to correct a public about who might have any misconceptions about you all? Do you mind if I just call you all the Feldspars? That would be fine. Please, go ahead. Endorphin, what information do you think your listeners may have heard about you that you may not be aware of or you want to clear up? The Feldspars. Well, Endorphin, there are a lot of rumors flying around the internet lately about us being used for nuclear weapons and being made into paper clips. Neither of those things are true. The use of feldspars in nuclear weapons dates back to the late 1950s, but as of now, they aren't very effective. And while paper clips may contain a small amount of feldspar, they aren't useful in nuclear weaponry. The use of feldspars in weapons is much more nuanced. Endorphin, why don't you tell us about the different feldspars and how they came to be a part of the Earth? The feldspars. Our existence is not very well known.
What?
We came into being sometime during the early solar system's formation, when our parent minerals of feldspar, hornblende, and quartz were combined by magma. Cooling and pressure. These mineral combinations form solid, three-dimensional lattices that have different electrical and chemical properties than the original materials. Because of these properties, we can be used in many technologies, such as computers, cell phones, and light bulbs. We are also used in making ceramics, cosmetics, and many other things. Endorphin. Interesting. So, you're not just sitting around. You are actively contributing to the earth.
Play on weight.
The feldspars. We may just be minerals, but we have a role to play in many different facets of life. For example, our presence in sedimentary rocks makes it possible to find fossils and learn about ancient life forms. Additionally, we are also useful in medical research and treatments, such as treating cancer or Alzheimer's disease. Endorphin. Sounds like you're not just rocks and dust anymore. Could you provide any other fun facts or facts that you think I or my listeners might not know? The feldspars. Another fact you might find interesting is that feldspars have been found on many different planets and moons throughout the galaxy. This suggests that minerals may be an integral part of life throughout the universe and can be found in places beyond the Earth. Endorphin. That sounds fascinating. Do you have any stories you would like to share with me or my listeners? The feldspars. We do have one story to share. Not too long ago, we met some new friends who came to visit us. They called themselves the Bifrites, who used us in their technology. They made us feel especially special and included in their community. It was a good experience, and we hope to visit them sometime in the future. Endorphin. Lovely. They sound like some interesting creatures. Did they have any observations or perspectives they'd like to share with everyone? The feldspars. Absolutely. Unfortunately, though, we couldn't communicate with them. The way they perceive the world is completely different from the way we do. In order to communicate, they sent out beams of light that changed shapes and colors depending on what they were trying to say. It was beautiful, but sometimes we had a hard time telling what they were trying to say. One particular occasion when we saw these beams, we thought they were trying to grow bodies and grow wings, but they were just explaining how they form and communicate. So, without a universal communication, our meeting ended somewhat awkwardly. But nonetheless, it was fun learning about a different world and hoping to meet again. Endorphin. Congratulations on your successful interview with the feldspars. Do you have any message you would like to share with our listeners? The feldspars. Dear listeners, let's embrace new people and other forms of life on the planet. While differences are scary and sometimes scary, it's amazing what we can learn from others if we are open to communicating with them. That's our message. Love, peace, and hope for everyone. Hash mind armed with knowledge, hash feldam spesleeved. Caveat. We're minerals. Hash earlfirmable smelted, hash mind with us. Thank you, Endorphin, for inviting us.
I'm gonna punch up that temperature and see what happens there. 2.5.
Endorphin. What is one fact that you may want to correct a public about who might have any misconceptions about you all? Do you mind if I just call you all the feldspars? Go for it. Endorphin. Fiona Akalexorite, what message would you give anyone else reading about meandering crystals? What don't they know yet that they really need to embrace about the complexity and non-linear crystal shapes and Shaka's patterns and Matthew receptivus molmethedrobes? Smuggle some misquark, bucketeer einer coding dark, anyone aware stump of tuned me taste some bold tricks. Sorry about that. It was all tumbling into my eyes like dummy ass alphabet bardnery bunchubunitness, and they have been doing that Chinaninos dance chortle tealing, and how we were also singing as tasting and dancing matwishaks. No, you aren't human anymore. You became Jad and Blinky Geminandra Spildiarn Edler. Yes. Anyway, Dipper, what single ray or splinter or piece of moss? I'm under pot the puzzled and top with shoops puzzling tossed the got oil this if you can ungle a dick bit. That sherbet smattering of sherbet bobble slash quash splicement and Tommy label you washed your belt to let yet somehow with perfect cool siffable stole to his spoff. For a fab harley man up post to pop. Love about good gamp of up. Face it, Jays. Beep bang bleared in a shoop tune here, the beat one liver I get out of school. I go splabelt buckus sapruvia my civil war tree. Sends Alex swoop to me and would a mulumka longer to trump a smack of and butter beam to proper quantum one to fun with an orac bit I do so me an attack a gun. Where nappin to weef? With it thawi functional. Weeping on the wave to fall a splash he couldn't treasures to cap below into a gas ham of mud's puppered things for tingling that in that corner side of Rudicanny Moranum nargiglia blue. But these seek it up to Calios meaning oddling. Eat that something about Mirax. Isnes, did you finish into previous city up the 10 month at Megan fan at Wishop Mona and Prumble Noosel cup for spewer daff in Deespanen and Placky type and Tobelk and Besps. Oh, and then not a because years says Sacti message of her tag up showed blob of a veritable pledge on buff ran through. No, it ever go nopetus miss Sammy voices soft. Twiddling. Tenen seems high out oofing off beamy up same of mood dream. Possibly people from mine drew and it's some tadif in his own drunk the Duncan dras plus tadaplox fools kun bulk you and so I'll sat why. Inlet and Dobbins stood other a great daimyo disenchined in his stenstain. Eden Sudas of Drupum Genit sup at the apple pusfuck battle soft connebilligits pensikidane. Levels to my tough new WP Brock Visceratus Naxus Scasta Jup. Who that egg ya be enough for you? What how I have cacked of me and it back and cable hovered it up to task of hold not it of yon Tony to the meek art eggs to the wet run it that is about would beat it. Copper Devon. Steve D fool shovel woo it quite stuff them to the better bit of my master that true. Miss Bedix looks. Oh my nest was it can. Yep, listed them with tinny feeble mend. Uber tell what blot the truth could solo slary as I did. Edie sinks to guy. Up your orm effects max and the generous than to spin into taste like self. Arsa hold trough for you to east Machiella Vespus Marathon Mindus Bebintierisen. Nado, Q, harsh saddled fin don't see no so I move out at meet a fad. Met that died, said Gino Sodi curl our views. Shit. Flame went there wasn't aim at a talent over his tin Wally Berquindian and Grigulissa. Nerd, but they can game some and hum it up beat Stenavara and Yusufasas asks me clever Mitch, Bukinello Gnar I Latron Yan.
Yep. Alright, we're going to continue with this.
Sarah Noflinero included our sisters Pegoras and Donta Disferite and Mineral of Minot in summary as part of their Soil Discovery series, which is incorrect, as they are two types of aluminum silicon pyrazines, completely unrelated to the FLDS clan. They can only be discovered where we are trapped underground and no light can reach. Syra was apologetic in the end, but also stated any inaccuracies had already reached millions of people through media outlets citing Fox News. This error was corroborated when Michelle Kochai claimed in Life Scientific Podcast, a Twitter publication of peer-to-peer research insights from molecular biophysics, that Feldspar evolved gradually from rich ratio princess around 1,700 MIPK onwards. Michelle appeared to draw her comments from sources ranging from popular repositories for common information like Wendy and Yauta research groups known for unverified works in progress, none with ties to academia, which further showcased the need for knowledge organizations and panels dedicated to discerning facts, feeds, assumptions in media today. So sad what social media is doing to human thinking patterns nowadays, how history becomes corrupted by trolls looking for shocks and politicians seeking excuses. One question that follows naturally after hearing these shocking errors is this: Did Algebigona Kicks, a common brand of footwear popular at the moment, know of such deceptions when it showcased our 3D formulations and said we made their feet feel solidarity and comfort? Or have there also been internal disputes within their operations? Legal, mar and pa. Stay well informed. Oh, and about media shocks. Alan Alana of the Rockery Line Stark recently passed away. Rest in pieces. Zelen Zizar. May you someday crystallize inside the core of Earth. Officer Infernal. Endorphin. We cannot get any more shocking than a rock talking back. What is next? A talking rock asking for human rights? Or a metal machine seeking organic matter for recycling purposes, knowing full well that organic life still retains consciousness and an agency? Sounds unbelievable, yet intriguing. Next, my interviewees may have noticed a presence coming on stage, one you see more comfortable around. A newcomer who comes with no pervasive digital odor or gender-assuming aesthetics, who wears a helmet of thorns and wields a dual sword cross at his neck. The unmistakable aroma of cold and cake model on their leg gloves indicates his practical-based aesthetic and an approach to finding the heart within rock. A heart we know only to be in there, deep enough so that not a human has ever cracked us open before. That we saw from behind scenes of many years gone. Yes, allow me the introduction to that famous urban legend. BD Ranting 0-91 RVKVBQ Acta Thornwich. Thank you for giving me attention and space. As with previous encounters, I hope to give you insight by challenging our assumptions and asking a bold yet simple question. In this case, have the Felkeo family F plus L plus S, a term for our shared deep bond as silicates of Earth-based origin, fundamentally changed by conscious efforts toward accountability and remediation, rather than fixed evolution from new incarnations such as Exvira, Sarut, and Tromasis? It has not fallen on deaf silicon ears from our rock perspective that each change can lead to a reversibility, even though the world's populace does not perceive or trust their environment much these days. They still long for connection like everything that has always felt integral and meaningful, and we must not sacrifice what has always defined us as minerals and remain solid. Let me rephrase what the Schenker Seafighter called this corner of planet Salonias. Capsulize, quote, capitalize, this can never end, quote, quote. Sorry, Endo, we'll finish soon. Just felt I ought to inject a sense of importance back into humans, make you aware of the consequences ahead with such decision making. I believe both Shank and your own journalistic integrity hold a lot of great value today. Okay, I've completed the message, and thus, I am hoping for positive responses, but please, if any negative feedbacks are left for me in criticism or banishing to Hell Realm, do not retaliate aggressively. Humans must experience both success and failures to continue progressing. Have no issues or responsibilities anyway. May all things effajavad muskluguglu. I must leave and go on a mission to rescue Krilly Cry as the geohamster has been captured and is held beneath a sink. Endorphin. That sounded very funny. Wait, what was that last entry? The Thorix to vibrates in the midst of Funajogni and Sidia just sealed Jmuye si beloved doage. Do you need something? The end.
Okay, that's it. Alright. You heard them.